Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into something that frustrates literally millions of players out there. We're going to look at how your own human biology, we're talking your brain, your eyes, your hands, is actually actively sabotaging your golf game. I mean, we spend so much time obsessing over the mechanics of our swing, right? But what if the physical hardware we're using to execute that swing is just fundamentally wired for a totally different set of tasks? It's kind of crazy to think about. What if the reason you aren't improving has absolutely nothing to do with a lack of skill or talent or how much you practice, and literally everything to do with your own physical hardwiring, your DNA? Today, we're challenging the idea that you just need one more quick swing tip. Instead, we're going to expose the real culprit here, your biological defaults.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Section 1. The brain's comfort trap. Ego over objective data.
So there's this massive gap between truth and comfort when it comes to our equipment. Look, when we step into a fitting bay, our ego kind of takes the wheel. The human brain is wired for reward. So instead of prioritizing what actually works, like tight dispersion or a super predictable ball flight, we end up chasing the highlight reel. You know the drill, swinging at 110% effort just to get the highest ball speed on that monitor. And honestly, nowhere is this more obvious than with shaft flex. Flex isn't just a spec, it's become an identity. We unconsciously grab stiffer shafts than we actually need just because saying, "Oh yeah, I play stiff," sounds, well, stronger. We end up choosing a mental image of ourselves over actual objective performance data.
And honestly, this brutally exposes just how fragile our nervous system really is. Look at what swing weight actually calibrates for your body. It's not about raw power. It's about transition timing, your release sequence, face delivery, and tempo stability. Your brain builds this continuous timing signature through repetition. So think about it. If you've got a set of clubs that flow perfectly together, but then you grab that one wedge that feels like a total sledgehammer, your brain instantly senses the mismatch. It adjusts your grip pressure and your tempo on the fly. Boom. You've just introduced absolute chaos into your motor pattern, and your nervous system never even gets the chance to stabilize.
Moving on to Section 2, your eyes are lying. The illusion of sight on the course. This has to be one of the most relatable and genuinely infuriating questions in the entire sport. Why do we so often miss exactly where we thought we were aiming? To answer this one, we're going to have to debunk what is probably the most sacred rule in all of golf instruction.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the actual science behind keeping your head down. We've been told to watch the ball through impact for decades, right? But functionally, that is biologically impossible. A downswing takes roughly a quarter of a second, but our neural processing delay is about 0.15 to 0.20 seconds. Because of this wild phenomenon called saccadic suppression, which is basically your brain blocking visual input during rapid eye movements, by the time your brain could actually use the visual data of the club hitting the ball is already long gone. The golf swing is a predictive processing engine. It's not a reactive visual event. Your brain is predicting where the club will be based on spatial awareness. This completely destroys the myth that you're actually watching the club hit the ball.
But you know what's worse? Your vision betrays you before you even start your swing. And we can thank the parallax effect for that. Because your eyes sit inside the target line, right, closer to your body, you're viewing a perfectly straight line from the side. And this basic geometry causes a major optical distortion. I mean, think about it. When you actually set up perfectly square to your target, your human brain completely rejects it because it looks and feels so incredibly wrong. The brain values visual comfort over objective truth. So what do? We unconsciously tweak and adjust our setup until it looks right, which practically guarantees that we're now objectively misaligned.
I really recommend you try this simple thought experiment later so you can actually feel this biological glitch for yourself. Just put an alignment stick on the ground pointing exactly at your target and lay a second one parallel to it right where your feet should be. Step into your stance naturally and look at the target. I guarantee you, your instincts are going to scream that you are aiming miles out to the right. Retraining your perception means you have to step in there, accept that it feels totally wrong, and just trust the sticks anyway. You literally have to let your brain recalibrate to reality.
All right, Section 3, the kinetic chain disconnect, inheriting the wrong biomechanics.
Take a look at this cross-sport pattern of equipment design. It's honestly wild. So in table tennis, the paddle is massive compared to the ball, like a 4:by ratio. That makes sense because precision in that sport comes from really fine wrist manipulation. Baseball, that's a pure collision sport, roughly a 1-to-1 ratio, where the precision actually comes from whole-body sequencing. But then look at golf. It sits in this really weird, structurally ambiguous position. It's a total hybrid anomaly. Structurally, the swing mechanics of golf are much closer to a baseball swing. Your power is coming from ground reaction forces and your hips, definitely not from independent wrist manipulation.
Yet for some crazy reason, golf uses the precision model for its grips. We use these super thin tennis-style handles designed to maximize wrist freedom. Guys, this is a massive category error. In golf, independent wrist movement during the downswing causes casting. You know, that fatal flaw where you release your wrist hinge way too early. Using a larger baseball-style grip would actually restrict that unwanted wrist manipulation. It forces the power generation back up to your larger muscles, your forearms, your shoulders, and your hips, which is exactly where it belongs.
As the quote here says, thin grips definitely feel like control. But in golf, that feeling might just be the most expensive illusion in sports. So why don't more people switch to jumbo grips? Well, honestly, they kind of look weird. Most golfers don't want to spend 4 hours on the course defending their unconventional grips to their buddies. We'd rather protect our felt sense of competence and fit in socially than actually adhere to what the biomechanical data is telling us.
Let's pivot to the fix. Section 4, outsmarting your own biology, building systems and removing limitations.
First things first, we have to face the brutal physical reality of distance. Look, everyone wants to hit the ball further, and our lazy human nature usually tells us the answer is just going out and buying a brand new $600 driver. But here is the brutal truth. A shiny new piece of equipment is not going to fix a restricted body. As this quote points out, you absolutely cannot build speed on top of a physical limitation. You have to remove the limitation first. Real speed doesn't come from a fancy carbon fiber face. It comes from these 4 basic biological requirements: strength, mobility, stability, and coordination. If your physical body cannot produce force efficiently, there isn't a club in the world that will magically generate that speed for you. Overcoming this biological limitation means embracing the hard work that we humans instinctively try to avoid: consistent, purposeful physical exercise.
Now, let's talk about how this translates to your practice time. Most amateurs will go to the range and just hit the same comfortable neutral 7-iron shot over and over again. But practicing a comfortable swing just reinforces the habits you already have. It completely prevents true learning. The paradox here is that the absolute fastest way to become consistent is to stop trying to be consistent. Elite players practice massive extremes. They'll try to hit the biggest slice possible and then follow it up with the biggest hook possible. Pushing your nervous system to those absolute extremes is how you build a physical map of what actually controls the club face. You learn through dynamic variation, not just mindless repetition.
So we map the full swing with those extremes, right? But when it comes to the short game, we have to defeat the illusion of subjective feel altogether. Vague sensations like, oh, I just know my touch, completely fall apart the second course conditions change. Instead, you need a pre-competition calibration system, something like a wedge clock. You map specific backswing lengths, say an 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock arm position, to exact distances. It really doesn't matter if your arm is at perfectly 9 o'clock. What matters is that you have a repeatable sensation that gives you a predictable outcome. You have to turn the art of the short game into pure engineering.
So, that brings us to the ultimate question. We've seen exactly how your brain prioritizes its ego over objective data, how your eyes feed you visual lies on the course, and how the sport itself handed you the completely wrong biomechanical tools. The path to improvement here doesn't require some kind of exceptional God-given talent. It just requires discipline and a willingness to let go of your comfortable illusions. Are you willing to be wrong about what you thought you knew and start engineering true effectiveness? Or will you let your biology keep winning? Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer. I really hope this completely changes how you approach your next swing.